Hey everybody, my name is Michelle Slaney-Trovato and I am your ASL teacher. I wanted to take a minute to introduce myself and to give you a little bit of information before we have our first Skype session so that you're really prepared for what's coming next. So I don't know if this is your first online course. For many of my students it is, and for most of my students it's their very first time Skyping with a teacher. So I wanted to ease your mind a little bit and go over a few pieces of information that are really important before we jump into our first assessment, which is fingerspelling 1.2. So a little bit about me. I will be obviously talking to you in your home or wherever it is that you're Skyping from, and you will also be in my home. I have been teaching this is my 21st year, and I'm actually a certified teacher of the deaf, which is why I learned sign language. And I taught in the School for the Deaf, the Provincial School for the Deaf in Burnaby South, at the Provincial School for the Deaf, so that's BCSD, the BC School for the Deaf, taught there for a little bit, and then I moved into teaching hard of hearing kids. So those are kids who wear hearing aids and use augmentative technology or have cochlear implants in the classroom. Did that for about a decade, and then I was moved into teaching American Sign Language in the languages department of Burnaby South Secondary, so teaching hearing students how to sign. I did that for about 8 years, and then I was offered this position to teach online, which really excited me. So I've been doing this now for about 4 years, and it's been really wonderful. Couple of pieces of information. It's clearly very quiet in my house right now, but I have 2 boys. They are 8 and 13 as of this recording, and they are very curious about who their mom talks to on the computer. I think most of the time they think I'm here talking to myself, so they want to just come and check. They don't stay for very long. They usually just say hello, and then they carry on their way. But I just wanted you to know that they're here because sometimes you will hear them or see them. We also have a very large dog. He's a golden doodle who's not golden, he's gray, so you may see a big fluffy tail going by periodically, or you may also hear him bark while we're Skyping. I know that barking dogs can be a bit of an issue for some people, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's life in my house. So I've talked a little bit about me. I've talked a little bit about Skyping and how that's going to work and who I am. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about language learning. So generally speaking, when we teach languages, we assess on a 4-point scale. That is reading, writing, speaking, listening. And all 4 of those pose a problem for ASL. And I'll go over that specifically. So, reading and writing. ASL is not a written language. You'll never find a book or an article written in ASL. If you find anything, it's written in what we call an ASL gloss, which really looks different from English. The words are all mixed up. There's lines underneath, question marks, and words written around it to indicate what you would be signing when you're doing it. So, we can't assess on reading and writing in ASL since it doesn't exist. There are written assignments in this course, but most of them are about deaf culture or deaf history, and there is one about ASL grammar to get you thinking about how ASL grammar should look so that you can think about how you can sign things differently. But otherwise, we won't be assessing on that. Well, speaking and listening, those are a major problem in ASL too, because, well, ASL's not a spoken language, so how do we assess? What we've done is we've changed the wording on the last 2 to make it more user-friendly for ASL. So instead of speaking this way, we use expressive. Can you use your hands, your body, your facial expressions to express yourself out into the universe? And then instead of listening this way, we use the term receptive. Can you receive the information that's coming at you so that you can mostly make sense of it to mostly respond appropriately? And on that note, I did use the term mostly twice on purpose. This is an introductory level course, which means that I expect that you really don't know very much about ASL or how to use the language. So what are my goals here for you? Well, first of all, I really would like you to learn to enjoy it. ASL is a very different language than English. It's a very visually expressive language, which for hearing people can be a challenge because we're not used to expressing ourselves this way. We're used to expressing ourselves through tone of voice, and we're going to have to learn how to do things differently. So it is going to be fun, and you are going to make mistakes. There are going to be things that make you feel pretty uncomfortable, and you're going to have to get used to that idea as part of the language. So what I thought I would do is go over a couple of things there for you. First of all, students ask me all the time, you saw me sign at the beginning of the video, why don't you sign and talk at the same time? I would learn so many signs. And I'm going to answer that question right here. While I can sign and talk at the same time, it becomes a challenge for me because I have to stop and think using two languages at the same time. I'm thinking about which signs to use that could match with the words that I'm saying. You'll notice that my speech is slowing down and I'm not looking at you now. That's because I'm really trying to retrieve information about signs to add to what I'm saying, which would actually make sense. First of all, our Skype sessions would take forever because it takes me a really long time to be able to do both. It's the same idea for you as if you were trying to write in French while speaking in English at the same time. Trying to put two languages together like that just really doesn't work very well. The other thing is what I did there, that's not ASL. That is called sign-supported speech. And what that means is it's a code, which is not a language. That code means that you have full access to the information because you can hear me. So it's dependent on what I'm saying first, and then I'm adding signs to support that second. Now, if you were deaf and you were watching only my hands and relying on that for access to information, you would have huge gaps in the information that I shared. Because ASL grammar and English grammar are dramatically different. And so if I was to sign and talk to you, yes, you would pick up a few signs, but you would only ever sign back to me in sign-supported speech or in English word order, which is not the language I am here to teach you. And I feel it does you a really big disservice, so I will not do it. Also, because sign-supported speech is just a code, it's not an actual language, I want to go over how things are different. So for example, the phrase, I lost my train of thought, in English works perfectly fine because that happens to me all the time. I forgot what I was going to say and I have to retrieve that information. However, if you were watching my hands and you were looking at what I said there, literally the message you would have received is this. There is a train full of thoughts and it's lost somewhere. You can see how the meaning is dramatically different and how if you were relying on that for your information, you'd be very confused. How could a train be full of thoughts? And if it's on a track, how did it get lost somewhere? Very, very different conversation than the one I said in English. So in ASL, of course, it's a beautiful language and it has beautiful nuances that I want you to learn. They do have a phrase in ASL for I lost my train of thought. It looks like this. Roughly translated, I had a thought, it disappeared, don't know where it went. It's a rough translation there. So I really want you to learn ASL in all its beauty. It is a very visually expressive language, and there are going to be things in here that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, visual things that you're not used to doing. As hearing people, we're not used to touching ourselves in conversation. You're going to have to get used to that. There are things that you're going to have to do with your face that we don't do as hearing people, like moving your eyebrows. That's going to be part of the language. And what I have discovered is that those are the things as hearing people we feel the most uncomfortable with and we're the most resistant to actually doing. So again, getting back to how you're going to be assessed, my goal here is not to be a hideous and horrible ogre lady around every single thing you didn't do right. My goal is for you to enjoy the language, to try it out, to make mistakes and learn from them, and then to grow and learn how this language works. So what that means is, yeah, you're going to make mistakes for sure. And sometimes I'm going to smile at you because I know what it is you're trying to say, but I know what you actually said as well. And I'll go over the differences with you. Like, two signs can look very similar. The sign to meet, as in it's nice to meet you, and the sign to date, as in it's nice to date you, look very, very similar. And over the years, can't tell you how many students have gotten those two confused. So you will occasionally see me signing and talking, but it is for you to explain the difference of what we're doing or how a sign works. You'll not be seeing me doing it on a regular basis. Generally speaking, if I sign, I turn off my voice, and hands only I sign because it makes more sense. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind before we jump into our first Skype session. There is an online booking system, and you need to be using that system to book your Skype sessions. As of this recording, I have a particular time that I set out to actually post my Skype sessions, and I do post them every week for the following week. You need to be checking your email, the welcome email that you got. That has information on the Skype sessions in there, and it is up to date. You also need to check the comments that I put in on your video assignment 1.1 fingerspelling, because I put information in there again about how you book a Skype session. I need you to know that those sessions book within seconds, so you need to be there right on time or just before so that you can see when the Skype sessions are getting posted. Now, if for some reason you don't get a session the night that it gets posted or the day it gets posted, here's another strategy that you can use, and I really encourage you to use it. On the day of the Skype sessions, there are always people who freak out, realize they haven't practiced enough, and cancel their session. So there are almost always sessions available that day for that day. This is a great opportunity for you to get in and check and see if you can get a spot. And do check in the morning, check just around lunchtime, check in the evening. You'd be amazed how many spots become available. Those are two really good strategies, and I suggest that you use them both to try and get yourself a spot, because that's going to really help you stay on top of the course. Now, if you don't get a Skype session, here's some other strategy. So don't just sit there and do nothing because you didn't get a Skype spot. What I recommend is look ahead in the course. There are 4 written assignments plus the ASL grammar assignment. There are 2 other video assignments in the course that you can complete at any time and submit them. So if you don't get a Skype session one week and you don't get a Skype session the next week, instead of sitting there and saying, well, I didn't get a Skype session and not doing anything, there is a high level of expectation in this course that you're going to be independent and responsible. So I recommend move ahead in the course, have a look at some of the other assignments that you can complete, go ahead and complete them and submit them. I mark them as soon as I know they're there. And again, I want to reiterate your responsibility for this course, that you are there to be assessed at least one time a month, at least once a month, to stay in the course and stay active. There is a wait list for this course, and if you are not actively participating, you're going to hear from me suggesting that perhaps you need to withdraw and that you need to move on and do something else, or get your butt in gear and get active. So again, once a month, at least once a month, you're expected to be assessed, and you need to stay on top of that. I don't follow up with people regularly about it because this is, again, the expectations are super high that you're going to be responsible for what you're doing and you're learning, and that you're going to stay active in the course. And again, it is in your best interest. You have 10 months, or in ASL, 10 months. 10 months in order to complete this course. If you leave everything for 2 or 3 months, I'm going to assume that you're not very interested, and we're going to have a conversation about whether or not you stay in the course. Plus, then you're going to leave yourself scrambling at the end to try and get Skype spots and get finished in time. Again, keep in mind that people are waiting to get in. If you're not going to be active, then they deserve to have a chance to try out too. So again, folks, it's really wonderful to connect with you. This is your first Skype session coming up. I expect to see you being prepared to do fingerspelling 1.2. So that is me asking you to fingerspell things, and the assessment for colors. That one's a super short, quick one. Also be aware, every time we Skype, you have the opportunity to do 2 assessments. I will always ask you, would you like to do a second assessment? If the answer is yes, great, we carry on and do it. If the answer is no, then that's fine. I just say goodbye and I move on to my next student, no problem. But again, this course is going to be what you make of it. The more you put in, the more you ask questions, the more you reach out and stay connected to me, the better it's going to be. The less I hear from you, the more you're going to hear from me, and it might not be as fun as you think. So I'm really excited to meet you on our first Skype session. Good luck with booking on the online booking system. Again, check your welcome email for instructions on what to do there. And let's get in touch soon so that we can keep you moving through the course. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.